I'm Phyllis, and welcome to my Southern Simply Tomato Kitchen today, where Southern food is simply done. Today, I have an abundance of tomatoes. My husband grows tomatoes out in bags in our backyard on our patio, and we have all kinds. This is like the most tomatoes we've ever had at one time. We have some Cherokee purples, we have some sun gold and sweet 100s, we have some early girls, and we also lost a plant, and so we're going to have fried green tomatoes one day. But today I'm going to teach you something that my great-grandmother, my grandmother, and my mom all made. It's just tomato gravy, and it is so simple and just a couple of ingredients. So I will be back in just a minute and we'll go over the ingredient list. Okay, we're back, and first thing I'm going to do is turn my burner on to low, just to let my pan heat up a little bit. But for my ingredients, I have a combination of sun gold and sweet 100s, and I weighed out a pound of them, and I've already been prepping them, and what I was doing is just taking my good sharp knife and just cutting them in half and throwing them in the bowl. But to get started, we have a half teaspoon of fat. Now this is bacon fat, and I know not everybody wants bacon fat in their food. If you don't want bacon fat, you could use olive oil, and you could use some vegetable oil. You could use sausage fat, or if you have cooked some country ham, maybe you have some ham drippings you want to put in there. But whatever kind of fat, but you need a little bit of fat in there. A half teaspoon, and then I have a 1/4 cup of diced onion, and of course I'm using Vidalia onions because what Southern girl wouldn't use Vidalia onions? And then we are going to let these come to, just do a little saute there, kind of soften the onion up just a little bit before we add in the tomatoes. So I'm going to be finishing chopping or cutting these tomatoes in half, and we'll be back in just a minute when it's time to put my tomatoes in the pan. Okay, I've got my onions sauteed a little bit, and now it's time to add this pound of tomatoes. These are cherry tomatoes, but you don't have to use cherry tomatoes. As you can tell, my pan's nice and hot. And so we've got all these tomatoes in there. I made some of this yesterday, or day before yesterday, and I used some of our Cherokee purple tomatoes, and they have a lot of juice. So if you're going to do those, you need a little bit more room in your pan probably. But this is a half teaspoon of sea salt, a fine sea salt, and just sprinkle it on top there. And now we want to just let this cook, just kind of simmer, and we're just going to let it cook for, takes about 10 to 15 minutes probably. I'll time it, and I will be back when they get cooking and get cooked down a little bit, and I'll show you how we're going to thicken them up at the end. So simple, and this is something you are just going to love. So be back in just a minute. Okay, we're back. It's been 10 minutes. And you see how these tomatoes have cooked down. Now I've cooked mine on medium heat, and you see they're just cooked down, they're just mushy and just like they're supposed to be. And oh my gosh, look at all that liquid they've given up in there. They're just so nice and juicy. And so because these are juicy and that liquid is not thick, we need to thicken it up. And so I've got 2 teaspoons of cornstarch here, and then I've got some water, and you mix it with cold water or just, tap water. Do not use hot water for cornstarch. You always use cold water. And mix it up, stir it up, and then you're going to pour this into the tomatoes, and this will thicken it up and make a nice thick gravy. And this is just something, it's so good. when the apron I'm wearing today, this was my grandma's apron. My uncle gave it to me last year before he died. He wanted me to have this apron. And you can see it's got a safety pin up here and another one down here. I have no idea why Grandma had a safety pin in there, but she did, and he left it in there, and so I've left it in there too. It's just a happy little memory whenever I am wearing this apron, because I know somebody's going to say something in the comments about the safety pin in my apron, but that's why it's there. Now, this didn't take all of this cornstarch. I probably could have done a teaspoon in this, but when I did made some tomato gravy with Cherokee purple tomatoes, I used 2 teaspoons of cornstarch, and I might even could have put a little bit more. It has to do with just how much liquid comes out of the tomatoes. But you see how nice and thick that's gotten? Well, we're going to taste this, and I have some rice cooked. My refrigerator died just a couple of days ago, and I forgot I didn't have any bacon or any sausage in the refrigerator because I haven't replaced it yet. But we're going to taste this tomato gravy over some rice, so we'll be back in just a minute to taste it. Okay, the tomato gravy is ready. I got my rice here, and I tasted it just a minute ago, but I'll taste it again because it is so good. I didn't have to add any salt or anything, but I am going to add some pepper because, you know, I like black pepper. So give it a good grind of black pepper or whatever kind. Or if you don't like pepper, don't put any in there. And so stir it in. And my grandmother, she used lots of black pepper and just loved stuff that had a spice. She and I used to eat hot peppers along with our butter beans and rice or our peas and rice. We loved a pot of hot pepper. Of course, when I was little, she would break me off the bottom part of it and she would eat the upper part. But as I got older, I got my own pot of pepper. I was really big stuff then. But so this is about 4 servings of tomato gravy, and on Sunday mornings a lot of times I cook grits and sausage and do tomato gravy, and see how nice and thick that is? Do the tomato gravy, and oh my gosh, that's just one of our favorite brunches. Sometimes we do it on Saturday and Sunday. But on Sundays, sometimes it's really hard to get it all done before church. So I've got my tomatoes, tomato gravy over the top of the rice. Well, let's just give this a little taste. That is so good. You'll love that tartness of the tomatoes, but they're tart and they're sweet. And you've got that little hint of smokiness from the bacon fat, and then just tomatoes. It is just so good. It's one of my favorite things is tomato gravy with grits or rice. And so from my Southern Simply to yours, enjoy your tomato gravy.